Hi, everyone. David Aragona and Mike Beer here, taking a look at some Grade 1 action on the Travers Day undercard at Saratoga. Race 11 is the Grade 1 Ballerina, one of three Grade 1s being run at the 7 furlong distance this Saturday. This one for the fillies and mares. Before Mike and I get into the field, we do want to remind you that we recently launched a podcast at DRF. It's called Off the Track, hosted by our colleague Gino Picola, who's had some great guests on recently, like Katie Davis. He's had Mark Cassie. He's had Kendrick Carmouche, the recent Grade 1 winning jockey. I think he had Doug O'Neill on a recent episode, so you definitely want to stay tuned for some future episodes of Off the Track and check out the ones that have already posted on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel, as well as any platforms where you get your podcasts. Mike, 9 runners entered for this Grade 1 Ballerina, but I think the conversation kind of has to start with who's not here, because early in the year, there was so much discussion about how this could be a preview for the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint if horses like Ways and Means showed up, Copian showed up, Too Sharp, who looked so good at Churchill Downs earlier in the year, Sweet Azteca out in California. None of them are in this race, and I think it makes it a more competitive Grade 1, but also one that maybe has fewer divisional implications.
Yeah, it doesn't have those implications at all as far as awards go. It doesn't seem like anyway. But yeah, I mean, the race would have been great if all of those aforementioned horses showed up, or at least 2 or 3 of them. Maybe not so great if only one of them showed up. As it turns out, none of them are here, and I think we have a pretty good betting race.
We do. I had a tough time establishing the morning line favor between the two horses that I pegged at the shortest prices, the number 7 Scylla and the number 9 Hope Road, the latter of which is shipping in from California for Bob Baffert, and those horses do always take some attention. They each have some credentials. They each finished behind Copian in that Grade 1 race at Churchill Downs earlier in the year. We'll see if they can be as effective against this Grade 1 field, but just like it didn't come up quite as tough. Let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector for this race. And Mike, something we do have to note is that while the number 1 Mystic Lake is shown on the front end, she is cross-entered in a $250,000 race at Charlestown on Friday night, where she's lining up against only 3 rivals. So it would be surprising if she runs here instead of that spot, given how likely it is that she could pick up that purse instead of this one. So I could imagine Mystic Lake coming out of this race, and that definitely changes the pace scenario.
It would that would be the biggest change for it. I mean, not that she's impossible in this race if they run her here, but I didn't quite like her as much as several of the other fillies in this race, David, if they run her here. But pace implications for sure if she starts from the rail. Even if she does run here, though, I do think you're going to get a lot of speed out of the 9 Hope Road. So we'll see how this pace plays out with or without the 1.
Yeah, if Mystic Lake's not in this race, I think Hope Road's going to be on ascent. Baffert likes to use his horse's speed, and she definitely has the speed to make the front end in this race. Let's go through this field from the rail out, beginning with the horse that we just mentioned, may or may not participate here, the number 1 Mystic Lake. She's got a lot of early speed. If they decide to tackle a Grade 1 spot and run here instead, Mike, breaking from the rail, she's likely to go forward. She can get the 7 furlong distance. I'm not really worried about that. I just wonder if she's really moved forward at all since her 3-year-old season, because she ran some nice numbers last year. This year, she's been a little bit up and down in terms of the recent speed figures, and I just wonder if at this point in time she's quite good enough to go with a field like this.
Yeah, I didn't really think that she was. Not that she hasn't run some really nice races, and obviously speed's always dangerous. There are things to like about her for sure. She was one of the horses I didn't like that much in here. And if they decide not to scratch and they run her in this race, she's probably not getting any of my money, but I understand that she could have implications here if they come out of there running from the gate and sort of go a fast pace.
The number 2, Brightwork, has definitely had some big performances at Saratoga in the past, just when she won the Grade 1 Spinaway during her 2-year-old season, or even last year when she ran the best race of her career in the Grade 3 Prioress, earning a 94 buyer. A number like that would make her competitive against this field, Mike. She just has not run nearly that well in her 3 starts since then, and since coming back off a layoff for her 4-year-old season, can make a minor excuse for the winning colors, where I didn't love the trip that she got. But last time in the Chicago, she lost some position early, but she had nothing to offer in the later stages of that race. And just wondering if she's a horse that has not gone forward as a 4-year-old.
It's my concern with her as well. I do really like some of her races. And so it was hard for me to listen. I went back and looked at her a few different times in this race. It was really hard for me just to totally dismiss her in this race. But man, she was bad last time. The winning colors, I mean, I didn't think it was a terrible performance. That was a really fast pace, and that she was sort of put on the chase there, and it didn't really work out for her that way. But it's not like she ran great in there, and then she was even worse last time. It made it hard for me to like her in here, but at some kind of big price, I would probably try to get her in there maybe underneath somewhere, because I do think she's good enough to contend with these horses.
She reportedly is training well up in Saratoga, a venue that she has definitely liked in the past. The number 3, Majestic Oops, is going to be attempting to turn back in distance, Mike, and I'm getting the sense that this is turning into a bit of a wise guy opinion in this race, taking this horse because I pegged her at a big price on the line. And if you're just looking at the speed figures, she fits with this field off her recent numbers. I mean, you can wonder where that form came from because she was a low-level claimer at different points in her career, and she's definitely been in the best form of her entire career now as a 5-year-old since getting picked up by trainer Dan Ward, and she just keeps improving over her past several starts, and she hung with some pretty good ones last time, finishing between Randomized and Candy Dorl Vader, 2 of which are contenders in the Ogden Phipps on this card. I just wonder if she's going to be as effective turning back now that she's shown so much improvement going longer.
Yeah, where I believe generally you like, horses that turn back, out of 2-turn routes to 7 furlongs. It's generally a good thing, especially a horse like her who's got some speed. So you feel like she's not going to get totally outrun early in this race. So listen, maybe it'll really work for her. She's in great form right now. You made her a great price on the morning line. I totally get all the arguments for her in here. I just liked other horses.
The number 4, Helena's Forte, won the local prep for this, the grade 2 honorable miss going 6 furlongs. We'll take a look at the stretch run of that race where she's able to hold off the heavy favorite Scylla, who we'll get to in just a little bit. And like Helena's Forte got an absolutely perfect trip in this race because she broke from the inside. There was plenty of pace going on ahead of her. She's able to run down Our Disaster, who took some pressure up front. Our Disaster actually came back to win on Wednesday of this week at Saratoga, and Helena's Forte able to run this field down, scooting up the inside. And it felt like this July 20th day, the rail did get a little bit good at the end of this card, especially after the rains came. So she was definitely not on a bad part of the racetrack getting up to win this race. I wonder about a couple things, Mike. If she's going to be as effective going the 7 furlongs, and also if that was the best she can offer, or if she's got another step forward in her, because I do think she's going to need to improve off that race.
I agree. I'm not totally convinced that she's going to have more to offer either. And I say that as someone I'm a fan of hers. I've thought that she was underrated right along through her career and just sort of always shows up and runs a really good race. No matter where Phil Bauer elects to run her, and he ships her around a lot and runs her in a lot of different tracks. She's a really good horse. I think this might be too tough for her.
Number 5, Claret Beret, feels like she's just turned into a different horse since getting switched into the Saffie Joseph barn. She always had some quality, and she always showed that she really preferred dirt, even though her prior connections tried a few different surfaces during different points in her career, Mike. But she has really taken her game to the next level since concentrating on 1-turn dirt races for Saffie in the last couple of starts. And I know she was being an overmatched field 2 back at Gulfstream, but she stepped up against tougher in that Chicago at Churchill Downs. And I mean, she gave Vava all that she could handle. If Vava was running in this race instead of at Charlestown, she'd be one of the favorites. And Claret Beret just feels like she's got the tactical speed to work out a trip, especially if Mystic Lake, her stablemate, comes out. And I view her as a major contender.
I do too. And I tried not to, David. She's the kind of horse I'm always looking to, try to poke holes in. I really can't do it. Her last 2 races are both really good. She ran a very good race when they stepped her up in class last time. And if she repeats it here, maybe she will, maybe she won't. But if she repeats it here, she's going to be really tough. And she's also got the right running style for this race because she's been very handy and tactical in these 2 starts for Saffie Joseph.
The number 6, Zeitlos, also contested that Chicago where Claret Beret was second. She checked in third behind that foe, closing from the back of the pack. And Mike, I do want to give Zeitlos some credit for that performance because it's not like the pace was that fast. And she was at least the only horse that was making a significant run from towards the back of the pack. They subsequently went to turf. She tried the caress. She's just fine on the turf, arguably maybe even a tad better on the turf. And she ran really well in that race. So it confirms that she's in good form right now. I think the narrative with her, Mike, has always been that these 7-furlong races usually don't work as well for her, maybe because the distance is longer, but also because just typically not as much pace develops in these races.
That's a really good point. And if the one Mystic Lake winds up scratching here, it's only going to probably take a little bit away from Zeitlos in here because she does want pace to come after. That being said, and I'm with you, I don't, 7 furlongs might not be great for her anyway. I spent a lot of time looking at her form last night, David. She's just one of those horses. She's just really good. She shows up and she runs. There's not a bad race on her card. I don't think you can find one. And it just doesn't matter where they run her. She's really good. She's still underrated. Maybe she'll have a little pace to run at here. Switching from turf to dirt to me is no real issue. Asmussen, when he runs his horses in races like this, they always show up. I'm definitely using her.
Another horse that shows up every time is the one that I pegged as the morning line favorite, the number 7 Scylla. Now, she hasn't won a race recently, but she's faced some tough competition in several of them, Mike. I mean, that Bed of Roses where Ways and Means ran off two back. I mean, nobody was beating that foe on that occasion. She contested that Derby City Distaff, which was the toughest race in this division run all year, and she didn't even run that badly after a wide trip. The last race in the Honorable Miss where she was beaten by Helena's Forte is maybe one that some handicappers might hold against her. You could make the argument 6 furlongs is just a little bit too short for her. I think getting back to 7 is going to work for her, and I could see her getting a decent trip in here, but she can't afford to fall too far behind early.
Right. That was what I was going to bring up. I mean, first of all, I would say, how tired are we getting of her? Are we at that point with her yet?
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, she's run really well against some really good competition. So I'm not quite at that point where I feel like she's just a major disappointment, but she's starting to run out of time here to win one of these races. And the other thing is, we've been talking about this pace a lot, and maybe it doesn't get that fast. Her last 3 starts, man, she's wound up way too far away early in those races, and that's not something she's going to be able to overcome in races like this.
It's a good point. She used to have a lot more tactical speed, and we haven't seen it lately. The number 8, My Main Squeeze, is coming off the best performance of her career when she beat New York Breds in the Johnstone. We'll take a look at the replay of this race going this same 7 furlong distance over this same Saratoga course. The only difference is now she's got to step up and do it against open company. But Mike, I think you'll agree with me. If she runs this race back, she's probably going to beat this field. And it felt like the bettors knew that she had this in her last time because she was facing off against her horse Sterling Silver, who's really good, looked like she had equal merits, if not even better merits on paper. And they only bet My Main Squeeze. She ran to that money. And if she's turned the corner and finally improved on that 3-year-old form now as a 4-year-old, she's going to be tough in this race.
I agree. And the other thing about it, too, is when she came back off the layoff this year in the Grade 1 at Keeneland, she ran really well that day. And it felt like that signified a move forward for her. It didn't, happen right away. They ran her in the Ruffian, they ran her in the Chicago, and, maybe they weren't, great performances, but she really turned it on last time. I know it was against New York Breds, but it's not like that's the only race that this filly's ever run that's going to give her a chance. And here, I think she makes a ton of sense in this race. And I think she's really, really dangerous.
The number 9, Hope Road, drawn widest of this field, probably one that could vie for favoritism with Scylla in this race going out for the ever-dangerous Bob Baffert stable. And Mike, she found herself chasing Copia in 3 consecutive races, and that's a pretty tough mare to be finding herself entered against 3 times in a row because it's hard to beat her in these sprint races. And she actually ran pretty well against her in the Derby City Distaff too, back and testing a fast pace and just getting run down at the end. I have a little trouble reconciling her last race, Mike, in the winning colors, where she looked like she was dominant on paper against everybody, maybe except the winner, Too Sharp, who is really talented. And Too Sharp ran off from that field, but I didn't like that Hope Road could never really get within range of her. Baffert's taken her back to California since then, regrouped, is kind of training her hard right up until this race, like Baffert loves to do. Can she bounce back?
Yeah, it's a real question, especially at the price that she rates to be here. She'll be one of the favorites in the race. So yeah, it's only fair to ask that question. The winning colors, man, that was a wicked pace though. Too fast. I know Too Sharp won the race, but she went a wicked pace in there and made Hope Road chase. And I just feel like maybe she didn't run as poorly as it might look on paper. Her other races obviously just make her a huge player in here. We've already sort of talked about this pace a few different times, but whether the one runs here or not, I think this horse is going from the gate in here, and I just think it makes her doubly dangerous.
Yeah, the potential scratch of Mystic Lake would definitely help Hope Road the most as we go to picks for this Grade 1 Ballerina. And Mike, that's who you're going to land with on top.
Yeah, I'm going to take her in here. I just think there's a really good trip coming for her from the outside post, and I just like her overall form, especially since they've decided that she's a sprinter, because she is.
I've got the number 5, Claret Beret, in there. I think that she's going to run well in here for Saffie Joseph if he leads just 1 in here. But the number 8, My Main Squeeze, I was so impressed with her last race. I know she got a favorable pace set up, but there might not be that much speed in this race. And I think she's going to get another good trip. And I do believe that she's good enough to earn a Grade 1 against this field that she's facing off again. So 8, 5, 7, 9 for me, and 9, 6, 8, 7 for Mike in the Grade 1 Ballerina, race 11 at Saratoga on Travers Saturday. Good luck if you're playing the races this weekend.